Welcome to the Course Creators Podcast with your host, Sarah Cordiner. Learn all about profitably educating your marketplace, creating online and offline training courses, marketing and selling online courses, and building a successful education-based business. You are listening to the world's leading resource for edupreneurs and modern-day course creators. And here's your edupreneur queen, Sarah Cordiner.
Oh yeah. Welcome back to the next episode of the Course Creators Podcast. And I'm your host, Sarah Cordiner. Today's episode is all about how to become a content creation machine. If we want to sell more online courses, we have to have content, first of all, to even make the courses. But it's that very content we're creating for our training that can then go on and serve us time and time again to get more exposure, to reach more people, help more people, and ultimately sell more of our online courses. Today, I'm going to take you through a bunch of tips for you to strategically become a content creation machine so that you can grow your exposure and make more sales of your online course and simultaneously really position yourself as that expert in your industry. I'm also going to show you how you can, with just one 2-minute video, a single 2-minute video, create over 10 pieces of content that can go on and serve you evergreen time and time again and really maximize your exposure. Because I'm lazy a little bit, but also because everything we do in business really needs to work hard for us. We work hard creating our content the first time round, and I'm all about growth hacking that and maximizing how far that piece of content can actually take us. So one of the first things I really want to bring home here is that if our audience can't see us, if they can't hear us, if they don't know that we exist, how on earth can they buy from us? If they don't know what we're an expert in, how can they come and ask us for our help in that particular topic? So creating content isn't just another thing to add to our to-do list. Creating content is the critical component to showing the world what we can do and how we can help them so that they then know what they can buy from us. And content can come in many forms. We know about blogs, we know about articles, we can have videos, live streaming, we can create books and ebooks, we can have online courses, we can have email sequence training videos. There really are so many different ways we can pull content together. They can be long form and they can be short form. A simple social media post or Facebook status is content. Videos, images, image cards are also content. So how do we create all of this? One of the things that edupreneurs say to me is, hang on a minute, Sarah. So what you're saying is that we now have to do even more work. Yes and no, because as an edupreneur, you've probably done a lot of the hard work already. Now, before we go into some of the strategies, I also just want to bring home that some people find it very, very easy to just produce content and other people find it very, very hard. However, it's not that one is better or good at it and one isn't. I believe that one simply hasn't practiced that exercising that muscle yet. I truly do believe that, like any muscle in the body, the creative one is one that just needs to be practiced. It's one that just needs to be stretched about and used. So the more you do this, the more you make it a ritual, the more you make it a sort of scheduled plan to create content in your diary, the easier it will become every single time. I remember when I first started blogging and I never had any idea what to write about. And when I did, I look back at some of my posts and I really do facepalm at just how awful they were. But the point is, if I hadn't started, despite how awful they were, if I hadn't started, I wouldn't be where I am now, which is with quite a lot of what I believe are quite good blog posts, which you can check out at sarahcordiner.com. So if you don't start, the point is you're never going to have any content. You have to start. And at first it's like riding a bike. It's awkward and you're wobbly. You don't really know what you're doing and your writing hand just doesn't quite flow very well. But the more you get into it, the easier this becomes. So you have to start, and getting started is the first step. So The other thing we want to think about here is that there are two main types of content we want to be building. Now, one is creating evergreen content. This means content that can basically be used again and again and again. It's content that is very unlikely to go out of date. Now, we see every year in the news how the same stories at seasonal times of year come up again and again and again and again. And really, they don't change. They just get reused just to be fresh. So evergreen content is really, really powerful content for you to use. The benefit of this is that when you create a piece of content and it goes out onto the internet, it becomes something else that people may come across as they're searching online. It's another way that they might find you. So if your content is answering how-to questions, how do I get, how do I find, how do I be, how do I do, how do I achieve, how do I not be, how do I not do, how do I not get, know the questions your audience are going to answer. If you're creating content in any medium that's answering those questions, you are serving yourself for the long term. When people type those questions into Google or into YouTube, it's your stuff that's going to come up. And the more you produce, the more likely your stuff is going to be to come up. I speak to a lot of my customers and say, how do you find me? And they say, well, every time I typed a question into your YouTube, it's your stuff that came up, Sarah. So evergreen content is something that no matter when in time somebody asks that question, it's always going to remain a relevant answer. And that way, you're going to be expanding your web the more and more content you produce. I like to think of that spider's web with all the rings around the outside. And every single time we produce another blog post, another video, another article, another image, whatever, we're adding another spiral or another ring to that spider's web that's going to then spread out further and further and further and keep bringing more customers back to us every time they type in something, a keyword that our piece of content might answer. So evergreen is the first one. Now, the second one is your time-specific type of content. Now, this is things like a concept like newsjacking. So this is when a particular news story has come out, a particular event has happened, there's a particular circumstance going on in the world right now that's very, very time-relevant and time-critical. This is when you can basically jump on that particular thing and create a piece of content. Perhaps it's a response to a current industry trend, or it's a response to a current news story, or maybe there's some kind of hoo-ha going on, some kind of big thing going on in your industry right now, and you can jump on that and show your expertise, your thoughts, your perspectives, your methods for that particular topic. And this is then how you can use that time critical moment when everyone's looking and everyone's talking about it to position yourself as the expert and provide the answers that people are looking for. So you need to be creating both. You really do need to be using tools like Google Alerts. So Google Alerts is a free service where you can type in keywords that are relevant to your topic and your industry so that you get emailed every time the internet produces something about that topic. This means that you can stay on top of those time critical things that are popping up, and you can really quickly jump on that with a video or a blog article or even a guest post that goes out to magazines in your industry. You also need to be making sure that you're always creating evergreen content. And then there's this little space in the middle where it's relevant right now and it may stay relevant for a year or so, but after a year it might need to be updated. And that's another really cool way to keep your old content working for you, basically by digging up things from a year or so ago and going, how can I freshen this up and make it relevant to now and the time that's going on at present? So one of the first questions that I want you to ask yourself to become a content creation machine is, what are the questions that my audience are asking? The first place you want to begin is by answering those questions that your audience have, because those are the things they're searching for the answers for. The true edupreneur is the one who has the information and the answers to the questions of their audience, sometimes before they even realize they've got the question. So that means being on top of what questions and what needs your audience have. So one of the things I always do is I might type into Google, how to, and then my keywords for my particular topic. And the second one is ways to, and then the keywords for my particular topic. And what that will do is bring up a lot of the questions. I mean, if you have that autofill in Google, it will actually bring up some of the pre-entered questions that people have been searching for. Write those questions that pop up in the autofill down, and you know that people have been typing that question into Google. Therefore, they need the answer. If people need the answers to something, the chances are they're going to want to pay for the answers, or they're going to really make a point of clicking on anything that takes them to somewhere that provides that answer. Hopefully, you and your content, which hopefully then leads them onto your courses and even your services. So by typing those questions in, by knowing what questions your audience are answering, you are getting yourself the starting point of this whole, well, what on earth am I going to create content in? What am I going to write my blog in? What am I going to write an article about? What am I going to film a video about? Get your audience to do this hard work for you. Go and find the questions that they're asking on Google. Go and find the questions they're asking in Q&A forums like Quora and Reddit. There's tons of Q&A forums that are industry specific. Go into Facebook groups and use the search bar to find the questions your audience are asking. So this is the first place I start when I've got writer's block or I haven't got a clue what I'm going to talk about. This is where I begin. So all you need to do is write down at least 50 questions. Try and find 50 questions that are happening in your audience right now. And this is going to be the starting point of becoming a content creation machine. Because quite simply, all you now need to do is answer those questions. That's really going to help you cross that line of, what do I write about, Sarah? That's going to help you with that next step. All right, live streamers, that's all you're getting. I'm now going to be going into, that's just the first tip. And as you can see, there are loads. So if you guys want to know when the next episode of the Course Creators Podcast comes out, go to thecoursecreatorspodcast.com and you can stick in your email and I'll send you a notification when the next episodes are live. But you can go straight to iTunes right now and check into the Course Creators Podcast. There are a couple of episodes live for you already. Don't forget to join the Facebook group Entrepreneur to Edupreneur Course Creators, where we talk everything about creating courses, selling and marketing courses, and building a successful education-based business. Hope you enjoyed this morning. Have an awesome day. See ya! Step number 2 for becoming a course creation machine is to now look at what the frequently asked questions of your audience are. So you've now got some general questions that are just being asked on the interweb. And now what you want to do is look at your own frequently asked questions. So I want you to start, first of all, this comes in 2 parts. The first part is, what are the questions your audience ask you about your particular services, about your particular business, about what you do and how you help people? This is the next thing you want to write down. So think of all of the questions that people have asked you before or might ask you about your products, your services, how they're delivered, how you help them, what results you give people, how you give those results, what the journey of working with you looks like, what your course gives or does, why you deliver your course, what are the most important steps for your course, whatever it might be. Come up with all of those questions they might ask, and those are the next steps or the next things that you now start answering as questions, whether you choose to do that in blog form, list form, whether you choose to do them as videos or live streams, entirely up to you how you answer those questions. And I'm later on in this podcast, I'm going to show you, the best strategy, the absolute best strategy to maximize your mediums of getting your content out to the world. But what this is about now is about making sure that each one of those questions you answer is very, very rich in the keywords that people might type into Google to, again, find your types of services. So this is a really great way to have people coming directly to you answering questions about the service or the course that you have on offer. The second part of the frequently asked questions content creation strategy is to also find the general questions that are being asked that are about your course. in particular. So we've looked at the big questions that people are asking about your topic. We've looked at specific questions people are asking about your service. Now we want to go somewhere in the middle, and we want to be asking about your particular course or program topic as such. So we're sort of going a little bit narrower than the big main industry topic. We're now going into course topic, and then we'll have your services topic. So again, list all of the questions you can possibly find that people might ask about your course topic, and use forums again, use searches, use Facebook groups to find more questions and answer those in as many forms as you possibly can. What do we have next on the list? So the next one is becoming a content creation machine. I have found really helpful strategy is to create what are called list articles or list posts. Now, list posts are really simple for those who get writer's block. I found this really helps me get out of a block situation. So, for instance, I find a question that my audience are asking, my industry is asking, or one of my customers are asking about my service. And I go, well, how can I answer this in bullet point form? So I simply would go, for instance, let me come up with an example. Someone says to me, Sarah, how do you market your online courses? Okay, big answer. So what I could do is simply come up with 5, 7, 10, 20 ways that someone could market their course. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can start your blog post or your written video or your live stream or whatever by saying, this is not an exhaustive list. However, here are 5 ways that you can blah, 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 whatever it might be. And you can easily find those answers from your own head, or indeed by doing a search on the internet and coming up with 5 ways to whatever it is that your audience are asking about. This makes it really simple, because what happens is when you only have to start with a bullet point or 5 bullet points in the 5 ways to example, is it stops that feeling of overwhelm. All of a sudden, it's a lot easier to just pop down 5 bullet points. 5 bullet points is not overwhelming whatsoever. Then all you've got to do is slightly expand those bullet points. So that's the next thing I do. And then you might want to, after you've expanded each one, you might want to add an example underneath each one. Bam, that's a fantastic blog post. That's a great video. That's an awesome live stream. And what happens with this is I found that doing it in these little chunks like that actually really encourages me to keep building out each time. Now, I've got a genuinely true story. In my Facebook group, Entrepreneur to Edupreneur, someone asked the question, Sarah, how did you create this Facebook group? So it was an actual question that someone in the group asked. And what I started doing was I just quickly wrote down the bullet points of just some of the things I did. First I did this, then I did that, then I did that. And what happened is this list of bullet points started to get really big. So I thought, well, this is a little bit bigger than just the comment on a thread in a Facebook group. So I thought what I'll do is I'll actually just expand on these a little bit, and I'll just make it a blog post, and I'll just pop the blog post in the group to answer the question. So I started writing down all these bullet points, and then I started explaining them, and it started getting really big. And I thought, wow, this is actually a bit of an ebook, I think. And it did turn into an ebook. So by the time I finished coming up with all the things that I did and answering and explaining each one, I actually had an international #1 bestseller. So if you want to go to sarahcordiner.com/Amazon, you can check out that book I have called How to Create a Facebook Community. But that started purely by somebody asking a question, me listing down a bullet point, a list post, then expanding on each of those answers. So you can see here how that one simple strategy can then go on and create a whole other pieces of content. And of course, each of those little bullet points I've gone on to explain, I've turned into little videos. I've turned into even slideshares. I'm going to come to some of this later on. So we've answered frequently asked questions. We've created some list posts. Another way you can become a content creation machine is to use other people's content. So it's perfectly okay to be a content curation machine, which means collecting information from other people. So I've mentioned Google Alerts is one great way to do that. So by listing down the keywords of information you want to share with your audience into Google Alerts, Google will send you that information, and that's normally in the form of articles. There's another great tool that's free. It's an app called Flipboard. Again, you can enter into Flipboard the types of information and articles that you are interested in hearing about, and that allows you to then go on and share that with your audience. There's also a really fantastic tool called Snip Lee. That's snip, snip.ly, which enables you, once you've created an account for free, to take the link to any article at all, and pop that link into your Snip Lee account, and you can actually create your own call to action over the top of that article and then share it with your audience, so that when your audience opens somebody else's article, it will come up with your call to action. So as an example, I obviously help people create online courses. Now, let's say I get a really cool article come through about, how to sell your online courses. And I think, wow, that's great. My audience are going to be really interested in that. That's going to make me look very helpful to them. But I don't want to direct these people to someone else's mailing list. I still want them to be on my mailing list, right? So what I can do is take that link, drop it into Snip Lee, and I've created a call to action, which is a pop-up of my face, which says, want to learn how to create an online course? Click here. So I can literally share an article from the Huffington Post or Forbes or Entrepreneur magazine and put my call to action over it and then share that with my audience. So that's a great way for me to not only show that I am a great source of information on the topics that my audience like, but I'm also using that to my benefit as a business owner by using it to collect email addresses and leads. Now, the cool thing about Snip Lee, I won't go into this one in too much detail, but if you have a paid account, you can actually embed things like your Facebook pixels. Why would you want to do this, Sarah? Well, because if you have Facebook tracking pixels on an article, a video, or any document or things that you share, anyone who clicks on that and views it is basically going to get their information stolen by Facebook. And that will enable you to then target Facebook adverts directly at those people. If they've clicked on your stuff before, so they didn't even have to sign up or do anything, just the very act of clicking on your stuff means that you're going to be able to target them later on in adverts. Now, I know this all sounds a little bit creepy, but this is the great thing about this technology these days, is why would I want to pay for advertising to people who aren't interested in my stuff? I'd much rather spend money on people who have already shown that they're interested in my topic, in my field. It's absolutely awesome. So creating and curating other people's content. So go out there and do searches online, sign up to various industry magazines that are in your particular field, and get the email notifications, sign up to their newsletters, so that information goes into your email inbox that you can then forward on to your audience so that you can be helpful on purpose. All right, what else have we got? Another tip. Okay, we can use stuff that we already have. Now, your edupreneurs, your course creators, the chances might be that you already have some old presentations sat on a hard drive going stale somewhere. So by presentations, I mean PowerPoint slides of some kind. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of Slideshare, but Slideshare is a platform owned by LinkedIn, and Slideshare allows you to share your slides, quite literally. So basically all you do, it's not voiceovers or anything like that. It's quite literally just taking your PowerPoint slides, saving them as a PDF and uploading them to your Slideshare account. Why would you do this? Well, because Slideshare has hundreds of thousands of viewers, and some people's Slideshares, PowerPoint slides that they put up on there, get tens of thousands, some even hundreds of thousands of views within a week or two. Why wouldn't you want all of those eyeballs looking at your stuff? So one of the things that I do is I take little short extracts of my PowerPoint slides from training content. I also take my blog posts and turn them into slide shares. So the blog posts, particularly that are list posts like 10 ways to something or 20 ways to something, work really well for slide shares because you simply have one slide with the tip on it. So I've got one on there like 10 ways to 10 times your content, which is actually the slide share that matches this podcast, right? So what you can do is create these slides that show that you know what you're talking about. You can add your website URL to the slides. You can even make those URLs clickable and add a call to action on the last slide of your Slideshare. You can even embed YouTube videos into your Slideshares as well. It really is quite simple as just creating an account, turning your Slideshare into a PDF and pressing upload. It's as simple as that. There's no complicated procedures that you need to go through or quality assurance checks that you need to meet. That's it. The other great thing about the Slideshares is that you can take the embed code from Slideshare. It's just copying and pasting a little link that's underneath your Slideshare. And you can embed that into your blog posts as well. So it really makes your blog posts look more pretty. They're more engaging. They get more interaction from people, which then increases your SEO as well. So Slideshares is a really fantastic way to maximize your content even more, get even more eyeballs looking at your stuff. You're essentially taking your content, turning it into a visual form and putting it on a platform where thousands of people are already searching for content like yours. So turning your existing PowerPoint slides into PDFs and uploading them, or turning your blog posts that you already have into Slideshares and popping them up on Slideshare is another fantastic way to become a content creation machine. And a little bit of a plug here, if any of you would like help doing that, my team at Main Training here actually do turn your content into Slideshares for you. So we actually have a service that starts from as low as $50 to turn your blog posts, your books, your ebooks, your PowerPoint presentations, even just your Word documents into beautiful Slideshare presentations that you can both use for training videos and also for putting onto Slideshare as well. So if you're interested in checking out that service or getting your hands on it, do come to sarahcordiner.com/service and you can get that ordered right away and we can start getting to work and doing that work for you. All right, so what else do we have? We want to maximize our content creation as well. Another way to get in front of more people is to get in front of other people's audiences. So other people have worked really, really hard in building up their audience. So guest blogging is a fantastic way to get in front of somebody else's audience. There are industry magazines out there with hundreds of thousands of subscribers in your topic, people that want to learn and read about the information that you are an expert in. So putting your content on those platforms that already have loads of eyeballs is a great way for you to get more exposure, make more sales. So one of the things I simply do is I take the blog post that I've written, I slightly tweak it, I add in some stats and statistics, a little bit of extra meat into them to prove that I really do know what I'm talking about. And then I send those out to guest magazines and guest articles. You can find those simply by doing a Google search, just type in your keywords and blog articles or blogs or magazines. And create yourself a big Excel sheet, basically, of all of the industry magazines and blogs that exist in your particular field. And just shoot that out every time you do a new blog article post. It's really helped to get a lot of traffic back to my site, new people onto my lists by popping out my content onto other people's blog platforms. Another way to become a content creation machine is to make sure you constantly have your ideas bin completely full. So one of the things I do is I actually created what's called a Trello board. So those of you who haven't heard of Trello, that's Trello. Trello is a free tool. It's a free app that you can use on your phone or on a computer to collect information, basically. The great thing about Trello is it's basically, you could use it as an ideas board. You can use it to even map out your online courses. But all your Trello boards also have their own special unique email address. And this is cool because what I do is I've saved the Trello board's email address as a contact in my email contacts. So whenever I get cool articles that are sent to my email inbox, or people send me information to my email inbox, or I come across a blog or an article online that I think, wow, I would like to create my own version of this. I'd like to create my own equivalent of this particular article or post or video. All I simply do is email that piece of content to my Trello board, which is called Blogs and Ideas board. So every time, like basically over a month or so, I'll have been emailing or just forwarding and sending ideas, links and stuff to this Trello board. At the end of the month or when I get stuck for ideas, I just go back to that Trello board and there's just this whole pile of inspiration, blog and inspiration ideas that I can then go and create content on and be inspired by. So that is an overview of just some of the things that you can do when you are trying to make sure you're creating as much content as possible to keep those ideas stimulated and content flowing out. Now, here is the juicy bit. Here is the way that I turn a single 2-minute video into multiple pieces of content that then work stupidly hard for me and bring me back lots of business and course sales. So here is where I start. I always start with a live stream video, a live stream Facebook video, or a live stream Periscope video. The cool thing about live stream is you get really huge amounts of reach. The live stream videos are just really being promoted at the moment by these platforms. You get straight into the hands of people. When people can see you live, it's much easier for them to connect with you. They can see that you truly know your stuff because there you are, all fresh and raw, doing it in front of them. So live streaming straight away gets you tons of eyeballs, and you can obviously there and then go, and if you like this, you can go to this website, or you can join this Facebook group, or you can click on the link above. One of the things I've done with my podcast to promote this is to always film the first part of the podcast, have a link to my podcast website, and give people a live taste of what they're going to get if they go and subscribe or listen to the whole thing. So that's just one example of how you can do this. So starting with a live stream already gets you views, is already doing marketing for you, and can already make you immediate sales. So that's where I start. Then what I do is I download the live stream video as an MP4. So you now have that MP4 video, which I then upload to YouTube, first of all. So YouTube obviously is one of the biggest search engines in the world. We really want to make sure that we have content on there. What I do is I make sure I reword that YouTube video so that it answers a how-to question. So people are going to find my video when they're asking questions or looking for answers. Then I'm going to make sure that in the description of that YouTube video, that it links back to my course. Obviously, what I want to do is say, this is Sarah's 10 tips for, or here's Sarah's quick tip on, or here is an extract of Sarah's course on Blur, click this link. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to come and buy your stuff or follow you on social media. So now you have a live stream video, you have a YouTube video. Now you're going to take that MP4 and you're also going to directly upload it to Facebook, because Facebook prefers videos that are directly uploaded, not links that are shared. So by just simply uploading that same video in 2 different locations, you're already doubling the amount of views and exposure that piece of content may get. And again, as well, on Facebook, make sure that you're putting links back to the course that it comes from, or that it's about, or that it's an enticement towards. So now you have got videos in multiple places. Now go back to your YouTube video and go to the share button. Now on the share button, there is a whole heap of social places that you can share that video to. So just go through now and press share on all of the buttons. Bam, now you have multiplied the exposure of that video in all of those locations as well. Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, Dig, Tumblr, all of them, right? If you haven't got accounts for them, go and set them up. Why would you not want to have exposure in these particular places? The next thing I do is I then send my video to a transcriber. Now at Main Training, we can do that for you. If you're looking for transcription services, do go to sarahcordiner.com/services and we can do that for you. But we get that transcribed. Now this is where stuff really starts to happen. If you work better by just speaking naturally, this is a great way for you to get written content, right? Because now you've transcribed your video, you've got something that you can now turn directly into a blog post. You can just tidy up that transcription a little, make a blog post out of it, and voila, more content. Another thing I do is I then look at that transcription of that blog post and I extract little snippets from it to make social media posts. Brilliant. So from one blog post, you could get 20 social media posts or statuses. Another great way to maximize your content. Now, from that same transcription, the very same video transcription, I then have a look at it again and I think, what little tips have come out of this that I can turn into an image? Some people like the visuals. So I prefer the tip images. What we don't want is just some random motivational quote. I mean, if your audience are going to engage with that, great. But I find now that people are more interested in answers as opposed to inspiration. So I create little tip images. So what I would say on mine is course creation tip in small writing at the top, on top of a pretty image. And then I'd have the tip in the middle. And then at the bottom, I would make sure that I have my website address. That's really important. The whole point of doing this is because you want to bring people back to your website. If your tip is really great, people will share it. So you want people that they share it with to know that they need to come back to your website if they want more of that type of content. So you can do this really easily on canva.com. Go to Canva. It's completely free. You can create your own little template and just change your tips all the time. Of course, we have those services as well. But that's a great way for you to multiply your content even further. So once you have transcribed it, you've created a blog post, you've extracted those tips to image cards, you can even make infographics as well as images. You've also got social media statuses out of it. Another thing you can do now is extract the audio from that video so that it's an MP3. You can then go and create an account on iTunes. You can use that as a podcast. You could put it up on SoundCloud. You could have a private platform where you have all of your MP3s for people to just be able to listen to your content, because some people prefer to engage with content when they're out walking or running or driving to work or something. So this is, again, going to get your same piece of content out to even more people in a different way. We've talked about if I can speak, I've got a guest article posting. So guest article posting is the next thing you can do with this. So take that blog that you made from the transcription. Now, it's important that you edit it, because a lot of the guest platforms, industry magazines, like the posts that they put out to be original content. So you're going to have to slightly edit it, slightly tweak it and adapt it, and then send that out to all of those guests, industry magazines that you have found and come across. Then you're going to take that same blog post as before and make sure that's in as many places as possible. So not only should it be on your own blog and your own website, you can also create a published post on LinkedIn. You can create a published post on Medium or Inbound or eZine articles. All of these are places where people search for content. Even journalists are going to be searching for content there, and they may take your content from that platform and go and publish it. So another way to totally maximize from that one single little video that you did as a live stream. And then with all of that, with all of those different mediums that you've now created from that single video, now what you're going to do is post those all across your social media. Now, I like to do this the easy way. So I use auto posting software. Now, my personal favorite is buffer.com, Buffer. There are tons of different social media auto posting softwares. They all do slightly different things. So do go and research them before you choose one for your business. But I like Buffer the best. Now, what I do is I connect all of my social media profiles to my Buffer account, and then I quite simply dump all of that content that I've created into my Buffer, and it automatically will send that out across all of my social media platforms over a given period of time. So that, my friends, is a whole heap of ways actually that you can multiply your content, become a content creation machine. And while you're doing that, sell more of your products, your online courses, your services, and show your expertise in its absolute best light. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. If you have, please leave a review, share it with your friends. Come and join the Entrepreneur to Edupreneur Facebook group. And don't forget that if you want to create and sell your own online courses, go on over to sarahcordiner.com, click on the courses button, and you can see that I have a whole range of online courses ready for you to take that have this information and a whole lot more to help you succeed in your edupreneurial journey. I'm Sarah Cordiner. Thanks for listening. See you next time.